Um, Excellent. Hey, Ranga.
Hi, Priya.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm able to hear you. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Yeah.
you. All right, great. It's 12:31 in the East Coast. Let's get started and hopefully everyone else will join. Welcome to KARYA Technologies webinar on Microsoft Dynamics. Thank you so much for joining us. Um, And good morning to everyone on the West Coast. Good afternoon on everyone on the East Coast, and good evening everyone in other areas. We have 3 time zones here, which is very cool. Um, we have our main speaker, Mr. Ranga, who is the COO of KARYA Technologies. He is a very, very prominent subject matter expert in this area with 30 years of experience. 20 of which he did in ERP implementation and 10 in other payment systems. He has worked for KARYA Technologies for over 10 years. So we are very lucky to have him be able to give this today. If you can jump to the next slide, please. Okay, thank you. Today we're talking about the concept of leveraging Microsoft Dynamics ERP to maximize potential for any type of business. This is a very, very large subject, so we've broken it down into 5 parts, and we're hoping that we can explain it to everyone's satisfaction, or at least somewhat. Next slide, please. We'll quickly go through the agenda, and then I'll hand it over to our subject matter expert. So very quickly, we're going to talk about the background of KARYA, just so you understand where we're coming from, Microsoft's roadmap of their products, and then our own implementation experiences, sharing how we would right-size your business, implement these different technologies and platforms to fit your needs, and then talking about upgrading from all of these legacy products to what exists today. So it's a very nice view of Microsoft and their Microsoft Dynamics and their products. And finally, we're going to save the last 10 minutes or so for question and answers. I would ask anyone who has a question to please put it into the question and answer section of the Teams. And please include your email address or some type of contact information. If we're not able to get to it during the webinar, we will 100% be sure to send you an answer offline. If you think of a question after the webinar is over, we've provided an email address, info@karyatech.com. Please send us an email there and we will be sure to get back to you. All right, without further ado, our main event, Ranga, if you would like to take over.
Thank you, Priya, for the heads up. Yeah, I'm ready. We can. Good morning to all of you. This is Ranga. I'm going to be with you for the next 50 minutes. Thank you so much for taking time to participate in this webinar. I wish you all a very good morning and good afternoon. And I'm going to take 15 minutes to talk about KARYA and the Microsoft roadmap. So to start with KARYA, KARYA Technologies was established in the year 2007. We are headquartered in PA, Pennsylvania, USA, and we have an overseas delivery center. We have a workforce of 200 plus employees, and we have a global delivery center in Chennai, which is southern part of India. We have around 250 clients across 25 countries, spread across 15 industry verticals. As you could see, the milestone of KARYA Technologies, we started as a web and mobile application service provider from 2007, and we have graduated to Dynamics 365, financial applications, Oracle Fusion applications, as on 2018. I'm not getting into the details here. The picture is very clearly, self-explanatory. I would like to rush through these slides. Just to give this slide is to just give a feel of what KARYA is and what they've been doing for a decade and more than a decade or so. So let's move on to the next slide. So the slide talks about our services, our line of business and services. To summarize, our lines of business are on business software services, digital transformation services, data management services, quality assurance services, IT infrastructure, IT security. And we have the type of engagement model. We have advisory and consulting, we have implementation model, we have stabilization, development and enhancement model, production and operation support, which is 24/7 support, training, and we also provide licensing and hosting engagement services. Okay, I move on to the next slide. This is something more in detail of our um, capabilities. Right from 1 to 6, you can see that there are details of all the applications in, for example, in as part of business software services, we provide all flavors of Microsoft, right from AX, Navision, or NAV, CRM, GP, and up to sales, service, marketing, commerce. And also, if you move at go to digital transformation, we have digitalization of ERP, content management, marketing automations, enterprise collaborations, and as part of data management, we provide SQL Server-based services, Oracle services, predictive modeling, cloud implementation, and things like that. And as part of quality assurance, we provide all part of testing, which now goes through from application testing to security and vulnerability testing. And as part of IT infrastructure, we provide data management services, digital infrastructure, IT help desk management services, and also added with IT security services. Okay, I move on to the next slide. Now let me come to the Microsoft roadmap. So this is quite interesting, as many of us are aware of three flavors of Microsoft products, ERP products. One is the GP, the second is the NAV, and the third is the X. Now I'll walk you briefly through what is the status, what are the things happening in all the three ERP products. So first, to start with GP, what is happening in GP? GP, as you could see that 2013 has ended by 2018. The mainstream support for GP 2013 has ended by 2018. So the extended support got over by 2023. And if you are in 2015 and your mainstream support has ended by 2020, and your extended support is on till 2025. And if you are in 2016, your mainstream support was ended by 2021, and you have an extended support till 2026. So if you are in 2018 GP to 2018, you have a mainstream support up to in 2023, which means that your mainstream support has ended as of today, and you have an extended support till 2025, which means that you are good for another 4 years if you are in 2018. So this extended support is applicable to GP versions from 18.1 to 18.5. There is the latest update from Microsoft, which is for 18.6 as of September 2024. So people who are organizations which are in 18.6 can get additional 4 more years of step support, which means if your organization is in 18.6, you get a product support ending by 2029 and a security update services ending by 2031. So any organization which is using GP, they are good for another 48 years. However, there is a limitation, because if you want to do any customizations, if you want to do any extensions, if you want to integrate, you may end up with some customization needs. That is where KARYA can help you. We'll talk about it later. To the next slide. I move on to the next slide. Okay, now I'm going to talk about NAV, Dynamics NAV. As you can see, the Dynamics NAV has evolved from 1984 to 2018, right from NAV 1984 version to Business Central version, which is 2018, which was initiated in 2018. So if you are in 2018, if you are in NAV 2018, so you are good to be there for another 4 years. I'll talk about it in the next slide. So let me see what is happening in now. So what is happening in now? As you see here, if you are in 2018, your mainstream support has ended by 2023, and your extended support will end in 2028. And as Microsoft has indicated that they are moving to cloud, and they are already in cloud, many of the organizations there would be an urgency to transition your now platform to Business Central. So KARYA can help you in that transition. But if you still want to be in now, KARYA can support you in now versions as well. Okay. And what is the advantage of moving to Dynamics 365 BC or otherwise Business Central? So there is an analysis now published by Forrester. The Forrester's analysis of Microsoft customers says that it increases your operational flow by 8%, and you have a benefit of around 500K, and you have a combined ROI of 160%. So these are the benefits if your organization wants to move to cloud version from a legacy or desktop nav version. Okay, I move on to the next. So now let's take a look at the AX roadmap. So AX, again, as you could see, it's been there for more than a decade, and you see that Microsoft has rebranded it as Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations, or otherwise FNO. Now, so if you are in cloud version, you're good. If you are in X, then you may have to consider transitioning your platform to a cloud version. Now let's see what is happening in AX. I move on to the next slide. Okay, now let's see what's the picture on AX. So as you could see here, if you are in 2009 or 2012, your extended support is it got over by 2018, and you would have received your hot fixes by 2022. So again, there is an urgency for organizations which are using AX versions to transition to cloud version. That is the the F&O, or the finance and operations, or the supply chain management version. Now, if you still want to continue AX, KARYA can help you there. KARYA can support legacy versions of AX if the organization has a developer license. So we have expertise in AX technicals, AX functionals, and also the latest cloud versions, technicals and functional side of it. Now, what is the advantage if your organization wants to move to F&O? So again, there is a Forrester study of saying that there is a consolidated on-premise savings on your on-premises and licensing and support costs. You can reduce or eliminate your infra costs. You can also get rid of or reduce your IT systems or IT systems administrators. And there is one good thing if you move to cloud is that you may increase your subscriptions based on your need. You may start with as low as 20 basic subscriptions, and you can move on depending on organization needs. And you can also cut down if your need reduces when you move to the next year. Okay, so I move to the next slide now. Okay, now is a main part of the webinar. This is going to be around 30 minutes. I'm going to be sharing KARYA's experiences about the various ERP implementations that we have had for more than a decade or so. So we're going to start with sharing experiences, which we feel that could help you in leveraging the ERP suite to their maximum potential, and also help you in deciding which version or which flavor of Microsoft is good for your organization. Now, this is for organizations which are focusing on manufacturing and sales. Now, this is one of our use cases which we have implemented for one of our customers. So the use case is as below. So how do we implement order allocation or track life cycle of products in discrete manufacturing industry using Business Central or BC? Using batches, lots, serial numbers. This is more applicable for product manufacturing companies like lumber, printer, home products, etc. So I would like to share one of the use cases which was applicable for lumber. One of our leading lumber manufacturers had two mills for manufacturing their finished goods. They were primary and secondary. Okay, the primary was basically for processing their logs cut from the forestry division and then turning it around into rough boards. And the secondary comprised of processing these rough boards to finished goods. The finished goods are basically those are the goods which are used for your home finished no utilization, like you put your floors, your walls, your kitchens, and all those area. So what are the challenge? Our customer was facing the following challenges. That existing primary and secondary process were separate, and there was lack of insight on the life cycle of the lumber manufacturing process. The equipment maintenance, which is otherwise used for their manufacturing processes, were not able to account their equipment and downtime related information. And they also had challenges in reporting their unit cost, their manufacturing cost, the labor costs, and the maintenance expense by product by machine center reporting was a challenge. And a reservation for sales for their sale orders was not accounted for. So these were all a summary of challenges. We also studied a little more than the other related challenges, and we were happy to help them by providing the solution. The solution, what you see here is a summary. There are more things because of time constraint. I'm sharing the salient summary of solutions here, like we set up locations, machine centers, equipment, work orders, and chart of accounts, or COA. And we also set up dimensions, location, departments, machine center, cost center, and product and project. So basically, the dimensions was more important for them to account at a lowest level as they wished for. For example, the main account was not good enough. They wanted to understand how their each cost center was performing. What is the cost associated with each machine? So we help them set up the dimensions or the segment as part of the chart of account to 5 or 6 segments. So in that way, they were able to detail their accounting for all the levels which they wanted for. And in order to achieve that, we also did other things, like we set up the manufacturing model from basic. We also set up the batch number, the tracking number. For primary and secondary manufacturing, we also put up batch control processor for process production orders. We also set up posting groups, and we implemented cost of goods sales accounting, or COGS, and we also set up revenue accounting settings in order to account for their sales no revenue. And we also set up inventory posting groups in order to account for their item costs. We basically, which is related to posting inventory accounts for issues and receipts. We also set up work order processing for their equipments and for maintenance and expense accounting related purposes. I move on to the next use case. So this is more applicable for a manufacturing organization. So how do we use Dynamics BC 365 BC manufacturing model for multi-level bombs? So for example, if your manufacturing facility has a bomb which is a multi-level, one bomb will explode into multiple levels of bomb. So this is something which we have implemented. This was especially for a printer manufacturing company. They had the following challenges. So for them, the extracting multi-level bomb from a third-party application, which was basically used for their product design and the maintenance, was a cumbersome process. They were all manual. They were maintaining all their product information and their multi-level bomb in an Excel, and they were not able to integrate that with Nav. So later they wanted to move from Nav to BC, and there were challenges in integrating the data between their nav and the third-party application. Okay, and they also faced the problem item costing, and they had because they had to use manually posted journals in order to account their items cost related to their printer manufacturing. And of course, they were not able to attribute labor cost. They were not including that. So the accuracy of cost related to the manufacturing process was not known. And they did was manual work order, manual sales order, manual purchase order. So there were a lot of gap there. And because of these gaps, they were not able to meet their reporting requirements. So we studied their processes, manual processes more in detail, and we helped them by providing the following solution. So how did we do that? We set up a manufacturing model in BC from scratch. We also set up locations relevant for them, and we set up BOMs, which is otherwise bill of materials. We also set up the necessary routing steps for producing their printers. We set up integration between their third-party application, which is which maintains their product, and Dynamics 365 BC. And we integrated their multi-level BOM data with BC item catalog. And we set up dimensions, which was relevant for their operations. Basically, they were comfortable with two dimensions. So they chose location and department. So we set up dimensions, two dimensions for them. BC supports five dimensions for information, and we were able to utilize the base dimensions of BC here. And we also set up serial numbers, lot numbers, tracking, and manufacturing receipts related setups for their business requirement. So one of the main thing which we did was setting up a perpetual inventory. So by perpetual inventory, what we mean here is that your inventory is reflected now in real time. The stock level, the financial level of your inventory is reflected on an ongoing basis. The moment you make an issue, the moment you receive goods into your warehouse, your inventory gets updated. Whereas in your periodical, this is done very, I mean, really, I would say probably organizations do it in a month or a quarter. Some of the organizations do it even in a half year. So we wanted to give the benefit of Business Central by setting up a perpetual inventory. And for that, we set up COGS, revenue accounting, reporting by dimensions, and to gain insight onto the locations and department related performances. Okay, I move on to the next. So this is more applicable for organizations which focus on sales. So this is more for your customer related relationship management. So you may have some of the customers as preferred customers. You may have a separate metadata. You may have a separate priority for allocating your products to them. Probably they are a large volume customers. They provide you more business. They give you more business. They place orders in bulk. So you want to give them more priority. How do we do that? Using F&O. So this was a challenge faced by one of our customers. They were a leading consumer goods manufacturing customers. They were finding it difficult to fulfill their customers in the US geography, especially they were facing challenges in prioritizing their customers. They were having dozens of customers. They had different priorities for each of the customers, and they wanted to include our business rule as part of finance and operations model. But the basic F&O model had some limitation. So how did we go about it? So this is how we did. So we set up custom priorities in F&O customer card. We set up auto reservation policies to include customer priority. We set up custom queries, which was able to query the table and column level information of F&O databases. We also developed generic extensions to address common business rules that can be applied to all possible endpoints. The endpoints like Shopify, Walmart, Amazon, Costco, and any EDI. It could be an EDI for any of your customers. Some of your customers could be sending you EDI interfaces like standards 855 to 860. All of them could be now extended using this setup in F&O. Okay. Now I move on to the next use case. So This use case is more relevant for the fulfillment organizations. So this is more relevant for organizations which not only do sales but also fulfill. For example, Amazon. Amazon fulfillment. Amazon is a organization which fulfills only does the fulfillment, whereas a organization which does the sales will only be doing the sales part. The fulfillment means which will reach the end product to the end customer. This exercise will be done by Amazon, but some of the organizations do both. For example, they not only do the sales and they also fulfill until their products reach their customers. Okay, so this was a typical use case for one of our leading consumer goods manufacturer. They faced operational challenges in fulfilling their sales order activities as they had loosely coupled integration with their third-party warehouse management solution. So the following were the challenges. They had integration, they were facing audit tracking related challenges because they had uh, different applications for warehouse management system and their order fulfillment system. They had GP and they were using Manhattan warehouse management system. So there was a integration always going on, okay, in real time, and there were some audit tracking related issues. They were not able to track what failed, at what point it failed, what are the orders which need to be reintegrated, repushed from GP to Manhattan WMS. So these are the typical challenges faced on a day-to-day basis. And not only that, there were some frequent configuration changes that had to be done whenever there were some changes in metadata of master data. And the data integration for sales order, shipment creation were all manual. They had to set up waves in third-party WMS, which is the warehouse management system. And they had constraints in pick list generation. So how did we go about it? KARYA was able to successfully implement this by using the advanced warehouse concept in BC and as well as in FNO. So we set up wave management, we set up templates, we set up processes, we set up releases and notifications as part of wave management. We also set up locations, zones, bins, outward and inward inventory movement related configurations. We set up business rules in location directives, which is basically used for controlling your locations, the sub-locations, the zones, the bins, and if needed, even the lots. We can control your goods at the lot level. You can decide which lot needs to go in first, which lot need to be consumed first, or which lot needs to be consumed no last, things like that. So one good thing of FNO and BC is that there is a mobile solution. You can use it conveniently for your warehouse activities. And all you have to do is you have to download the necessary app from the Play Store or the App Store as it is relevant for your mobile. Okay. And so using this, we were able to provide mobile solutions to suit to pick the necessary lot numbers for the customers' priorities. The customers could decide which lot number could be picked on their based on their priority. Okay. So I move on to the next use case. So this is more for retail organizations, and this is a case where one of our manufacturing customers wanted to implement dynamic pricing for using promotional pricing of their manufactured products. So, and at the same time, they wanted to use their standard pricing. They wanted to have their standard pricing and also use their promotional pricing based on, promotion time. For example, for during festive season, they wanted to provide some promotional pricing. So, however, they had a challenge of overwriting their existing pricing. So they wanted to partner with us, and we were happy to help them in that. So, so what are the challenges? The challenges was they did not know how to implement FNO to use dynamic pricing, and their Excel-based no pricing list, and they were not able to use their standard pricing, or their Excel-based standard price were overwritten because of this issue, and they were not able to implement customer-based pricing, and they were not able to implement discounts, which is part of FNO feature. Okay, So how did we go about this? So we understood their business requirements more in detail. We understood their promotions, eligibility criteria, their goals and metrics. We set up a feature which is retail and commerce model in F&O. So retail and commerce model has more in-depth feature for implementing this particular challenge or use case, especially by configuring trade discounts, retail discounts, discount priorities, price adjustment journals, and batch processing. So this is a summary of the solution. There were other things which we also took care of, no, meeting the requirements, and we were able to successfully implement and meet our customers' objective. Okay, I move on to the next use case. And this is more for the financial organizations, organizations which focus on their financial aspect alone. So how do we account and evaluate your product performance through general ledger chart of account segments in Business Central? So this is a use case for one of our uh, no, retail manufacturers, which were focusing on home finishings. They were using standard cost, but they were also eager to implement unit cost. And they were finding it difficult to report their key product manufacturing costs and associated expenses in financial reports. So their challenges were where they had chart of accounts, but they were not identified well. And if identified, they were left blank, even if they were no configured. And the chart of account segments or main account were not mandatory during transaction posting. So this was the reason they were not able to account their accounts to the lowest level, lowest detail they wished for. So how did we solve that problem? This is how we did. We cleaned up their chart of accounts. We removed unwanted, redundant chart of accounts. We also guided them by selecting the optimal number of dimensions. We identified the right set of chart of account dimensions needed for financial posting. We set up dimensions for each expense or revenue account. We set up mandatory posting rules for dimensions. We also were able to generate, using these setups, we were able to generate out of the box reports which showed them the necessary dollar values for all their assets, liabilities, expenses, revenues by dimension. So what I mean by dimension is that it was a dimension which they chose. They chose a dimension by department, by cost center, by location, things like that. So this is a typical use case for any financial organizations which want to focus on detailing their reporting requirements for any type of report. It could be a trial balance, it could be a balance sheet, it could be a P&L or cash flow for that matter, or even a custom report if they want to develop. All of them could be now listed at a dimension level. Okay. With this, having said that, I move on to the next use case. This is again for financials. I mean, I recollect. I noticed that there are quite a few financial related industry participants. I hope this will help them. I definitely look forward to having questions on this. If you have questions, please feel free to post them. I would be happy to answer them at the end of the session. I'm almost nearing the end of the use cases, and so far it's been good. And I would like to talk about our next use case again on financials. So how do we leverage intercompany accounting in F&O and avoid out of balance scenarios? So this is typically a case where organizations deal with multiple legal entities. So this was a case for one of our healthcare customers. They were having multiple cost centers. They wanted to track their accounting by cost center. Each cost center had its expenses and revenues mixed with few intercompany transactions. That the problem was, though they were able to balance their trial balance at the group at their cost center level, sorry, at the group level, they were not able to balance at the cost center level. So this was one of the main requirements. So what they did in the manual existing system was that they had to download this data into an Excel. They had to do some manual postings, manual corrections. They had to then generate the reports. So we understood their problem. We studied their environment a little more in detail. We figured out that they did not implement intercompany accounting. So we helped them by implementing intercompany processing rules. Okay, so the challenges they faced was that their trial balance or TB by cost center was out of balance. There were few transactions that did not have cost centers due to historic data migrations, and the finance team spent many manual hours to export the transactions, as I mentioned earlier, to generate file-based trial balance. So we solved the problem by setting up cost centers as separate legal entities with a common chart of account. Okay, and we also set up intercompany processing rules through sales and purchase invoice processes. We set up automating intercompany transaction posting for their respective sales and purchases across legal entities. So this way, we were able to meet their objective, and the customer was happy enough to provide us continuous business. Okay, I move on to the next use case. Yeah, this is more of a actual scenario. This is not a use case. This is how do we are very open about sharing how you can leverage GP, how you can leverage BC, how you can leverage FNO by considering various parameters. So we have listed few critical parameters based on which you can choose whatever product suits you. The objective is now to right size your organization's ID budget to enable your critical decision makers choose the right column which is more apt rather than getting misled by choosing a flavor which is overkill for your business operations. So we want to be very open about it. We want to share our experience. We find many of our customers have this problem. They come to us saying that we have F1O, but we are not using many of the models. Why don't you help us? So we understand their no, we get onto their shoes and we understand their business requirements. We conduct workshops. We understand their pain points. Then we realize that they have legacy applications which are being redundantly used, whereas they have FNO subscriptions which is not being used at all. They are not using even 30 to 40% of that. So we want to be very open about the various capabilities about FNO, the various capabilities about Business Central, and the various capabilities as it stands for GP. Now, let me take the GP. So as you could see, GP or the Great Plains is just good for a small enterprise. If your organization falls under a small enterprise category, and if you can leverage Microsoft support for 4 more years, you don't have to move on to Business Central. You're good in GP. As long as your existing business no scenario is able to be is running smoothly, and your operations, your reporting requirements are all good, you are good to be in GP for 4 more years. And having said that, so there are other aspects. So you have a basic inventory, you have a basic purchase and sales manufacturing requirements, and your basic inventory is limited with basic or limited warehouse activity. You don't have a advanced warehouse management requirement, and you are ready to integrate with your advanced warehouse WMS like Manhattan, no, WMS. And your infrastructure is server based. You are very safe, security conscious. You want to be, you have certain mandatory regulations within your organization where you do not want to keep your data on cloud, and you want your data all your data to be residing in your in-house database requirements. If that is the case, you can still be on GP. And your financials have simple business rule, and you have limited customizations or you have no customizations at all, and you are aware of that GP is going to have a sunset by 2028 for versions which are from 18.1 to 18.5. If you are in 18.6, you are good to be comfortable by 2031, as I showed in one of the earlier slides. And your user group, they're all in a closed user group. You are ready to go with the desktop solution, and you don't need to integrate with the Excel. You don't need to integrate with Office 365 applications, and you don't have requirements and which are very advanced, and your requirements are okay. Your desktop requirements, customizations to integrate with modern apps like Power Apps, Power BI, and M365 is going to be an add-on. You have to do customization for that because it's not in native GP. Okay, and you have limited or no third-party application support. And finally, you do not have any AI requirement as of today. You are aware that GP road product roadmap, and you are able to plan your upgrades accordingly. Okay, so please consider GP, continue to be in GP if your organization falls under this category. Now, let me move on to the next column. So if your organization is anywhere from a small to mid-sized, and you have a single legal entity, and you have multiple operating locations, and if you can have a budget to afford a USD 70 to $100 per user per month, then BC is the right choice. And also, you can pick essential edition if your business requirement is now restricted to advanced inventory, purchase, sales, CRM, and you are ready to do journaling for other processes. But you can choose premier subscription if you want to use all of the essential features. Plus, you also have a small manufacturing. Okay, so if you want to have a small manufacturing processes to be included, then you can go for premium subscription of BC. Okay, now of course BC is cloud based. You are ready to move uh, to cloud with a proven security provided by Microsoft. You don't have to worry about security. Microsoft has proven security implemented for all their BC implementations. Though all your data is in cloud, you don't have to worry about your cloud data. And your requirements on financials are advanced, and your extensions are flexible, meaning that you don't have to worry about any upgrades. You can do any customizations. You can do any amount of changes in your existing BC forms or pages. We will be able to help you there. Whenever Microsoft upgrades, you don't have to worry. All you have to do is your extensions are going to be sitting on a separate, deployed solution. When Microsoft upgrades, your extensions are going to be automatically get clubbed on to the upgraded version. So there is a change in architecture by Microsoft in BC. So you don't have to worry about again merging your base codes at all. Now, again, coming to your user group is wide. They have mobile access requirement, and you have Excel requirements. So BC offers automatic integration with Excel, and you have automatic no native integrations with Power BI, Power Apps. So BC provides Power BI, Power Apps automatic integration. So you don't have to do customization for that, as it happened in GP scenario. And you have one other advantage is that if you have a special need, for example, you need a transport model in BC, but you still need to you want to stick to BC, you can add a transport plugin. So you are good with BC if you want to use no app source. So if you want to use the app AI features, BC is good for you. So please take care of all this requirement for your business. For your business, and you decide whether you want to go for GP, BC, or FNO. So FNO is, again, I'm going to FNO briefly. FNO is basically, it is for large enterprise where there are complex global operations with multiple legal entities, and you have complex intercompany accounting, and your subscription prices. You should be ready to offer a subscription, be ready to have a budget for a subscription price of anywhere between 180 USD to 210 USD per user per month. And look at the features. There's a quite complex. I'm not going to run through all of them. Right from complex inventory to transportation management, which is not present in BC, you have it in F&O. So if you have a complex, you have your own fleet, you have advanced manufacturing. If you are an organization which is using landed cost, if you do import and export, if you are using expense management, if you are using cost accounting, if you are using HRMS, your payroll, and F&O is good for you. And you also have all the features which is available in BC, in addition to what I mentioned in the complex more features. Okay. With this, I move on to the next slide, which is going to talk about the upgrade. I'm going to take 2 minutes for this. I know it's a very short slide. This is the best practice for upgrade. How do you want to upgrade? What is the best practice to upgrade if you are in manual system? If your system is manual, how can you upgrade to BC? You need to do a data migration from your Excel or from your standalone proprietary database or any text format. We will be able to support you there. And you don't need to do any code migration because all the code is all there in BC. There's no scope for code migration in a manual system to BC. But if you are in a non-Microsoft BC, again, you just do code data migration. There is no need to do any code migration because as the code is totally different, we're not going to use your code. We're only going to use your data and plug it in the base models of BC. Now, how can you move from NAV to BC? So you have to do data migration and you have to do the code migration as well. So it depends on which version of NAV. If you are a legacy version of NAV, you may have to take a few hops before you reach the Business Central. So we will talk. If you have any specific needs, feel free to touch base with our contacts. We'll be happy to help you there and be a partner of your NAV to BC upgrade. You know, objective. So if you are in GP and if you want to move to BC, how can you do that? You just have to do data migration. Again, here, the architecture is different in GP and when compared to BC. You don't have to worry about the code. The code is all there, native to BC. All you have to do is data migration because GP is in SQL Server database. All we have to do is BC provides the necessary export import template. We will connect to your GP database, SQL Server database, and we will do the necessary data migration. And if you are in AX, if you want to move to D65 F&O, you have to do data migration and as well as code migration. Okay, so that is the end of this upgrade approach. And I move on to the next slide. Okay, so again, there is a flavor in NAV. I'm going to touch briefly on this. Now, what is this? There are 3 flavors on NAV. How would you want, if you want to do a standard or re-implementation? Okay, what do you do? What is the scenario for your organization? Organizations which are not worried about modified features of NAV, you are not worried about your historical data, you are ready to start fresh from BC, and you want to just have the opening summary of your transactions and you are ready to move to BC. So you may have to use re-implementation or start from standard. So what do you want to do if you want to start from modified approach? What is modified approach? You want to retain your existing NAV objects. You want to modify those which are not relevant to you. For example, you may have 300 modified NAV objects, but you need all of them. We will be porting all of these 300 objects to NAV version. So there is a tool which is needed for migrating your code from NAV to BC. And you need a full upgrade to be considered for all the modifications that you're done in NAV, and that has to be carried to Business Central version. And there is last flavor, a technical upgrade. Okay, the technical upgrade is basically meant for versions which are organizations which are in NAV 2013 or later, and that's basically for user experience, which is like features like web, mobile, and tablet support. This is